What's going on, everybody? And today I'm continuing with the bulk, and finally I broke through the plateau that I was hitting, and finally broke through the weight that I wasn't able to break through very, very nicely. And this is great news because it just gave me it's just a psychological win as far as what I'm achieving with this bulking cycle. And what I'm achieving with this specific task that I'm on right now. And something that's funny, man, is like the physicality, the physiques of people. It's one of the funniest things that, many of the things that are good for longevity maybe don't really look that good or that attractive. So you look at people who are like so skinny, and they have basically no muscle mass. They don't eat a lot, and those are, the highest probability is that those people will probably live the longest. You look at the people who are ripped or who are swole and they have tons of muscle mass and they have tons of shreds everywhere, and they carry a bunch of weight, and they can live a long time, but the probability is that they're not going to live as much as the people who are so skinny and they eat very little food, And a lot of the anti-aging research talks about these things, and specifically about caloric restriction, being in a caloric deficit, and all these different things for the specific goal of longevity. So, but does it look good? I mean, walking down the street, would you be attracted to the skinny girl who's like a skeleton? The probability is that she's going to live a long time, but would that be the girl that you would be attracted to? Probably not. The same for guys. Would the girl be attracted to the guy who's like skinny and has no muscles? Or would the girls be attracted to guys who have big arms, big chest, defined chest, and big shoulders? With a bunch of muscles on their frame, what would people be attracted to? And this is a completely different issue, right? So, just saying that what's attractive physically is not what's always good for longevity. And I talked about this in a different video where I talked about the different dimensions of all these things. Longevity is a dimension that you can optimize for. Another dimension is cognitive function. You can optimize for that. You can optimize for cognitive function. Acquiring the maximum amount of comprehension, the maximum amount of memory capacity. Training your brain every day would require a specific routine and a specific exercise, a bunch of exercises and specific things and a specific lifestyle, foods that you will eat. And specific sleep patterns and everything that you will do to optimize for brain function. That's going to be different than if you want to optimize for physical or athletic ability or for muscle accumulation and such as bodybuilding. All of these things will be different things. They're not going to be the same. So somebody that optimizes for bodybuilding will have to consume large amounts of food. They will have to be in a surplus of calories. This is not always the best for cognitive function because you're going to have a lot of carb crashes. You're going to have a lot of food comas. Not the best for cognitive function. Probably the best for cognitive function is to do some sort of restricted window of eating, some sort of intermittent fasting, and eat specific types of food. And either limit it or keep your carbohydrates to at night, 3 hours before you go to sleep, so that it doesn't really slow you down in the morning as you are trying to get your brain function as you're trying to use your brain to the maximum advantage during the day and during the times where you're doing the most amount of work. You have to engage in a lot of memory techniques, all this stuff. I got to experience a lot of this stuff when I got at the point where I was like the smartest point, the most intelligent I was at, when I was studying a lot of mathematics, a lot of computer science, a lot of AI. And at that point, I was very skinny. I wasn't carrying a lot of muscle. I wasn't even like lifting a lot of weights, and maybe here and there, but I wasn't lifting much weights. And the problem for me is that this is not the way that I like to live my life. If I don't do bodybuilding on a weekly basis, at least 3 times a week, something in me doesn't feel right. So I end up being miserable. Yeah, you become very smart. You're very smart and you can do all these different things, but it's just something doesn't feel. Something in me just doesn't feel right. I don't feel like I'm achieving much in life, being the very skinny and optimizing everything only for cognitive function, right? So, with that being said, there are so many different things that one can do to optimize each one of those. And I talked about this, in specific snippets, here and there, but I'll dedicate probably a specific series for each one of those topics to share my experiences with the things that I experimented with to get my cognitive function to where it was and to get everything basically to where it was for me as far as the cognitive ability and all these different things. So it is a cross, man. So when you sacrifice cognitive, when you do a lot of, for example, let's say athletic endeavors, specifically bodybuilding and everything that bodybuilding requires for you to do to gain that amount of muscle, to gain that extra muscle, when you do that, what happens by virtue of that is you sacrifice a little bit of your cognitive function because of the things that I talked about. The patterns of life that you need to live to do bodybuilding are not optimized for cognitive function, and the things that you need to do for cognitive function, they're not optimized for bodybuilding. And take that with a lot of different things, even within athleticism. What you do for an endurance sport is not going to be what's best for bodybuilding, for accumulating mass. What you do for mass is not going to be the best for fighting, for the MMA, and so on and so forth. And you understand the point where I'm getting at with these things. But in life, cognitive function is extremely important, right? And you have to be smart, and you can't afford to be stupid in life. You have to have an ability to read a lot of information, to scan a lot of information in your brain, to be able to organize this information in a very good way, store them in your brain, and have a storage system for this information on your computer or on your whatever digital device you're using, because you have to be very organized with the information that you acquire, because there's so many information right now in the world. You have to be able to organize this information to go back to and get it whenever you want. So they can call it a second brain or whatever. Some people call it that. But whatever. The point is, you're trying to get to a point where you're basically understand or have an information acquiring ability that such that you don't fall back in life, because everything in life depends on information, the amount of information that you can acquire, and then taking action based on that information, right? Now, with this bulking routine that I'm doing now, and I'm gonna discuss this now with everybody, and in the community and on the forum, on the website, if you guys are interested in the protocol, the bulking protocol that I'm doing, it's gonna be discussed on the website, perfecthumanx.com. So you can check that out. How I was able to break through this basically plateau that I was talking about in my previous videos, and how to go through that and be able to gain more mass, or gain the mass that I wanted out of this whole thing right now. So right now, I'm back to calculating my calories, trying to see here, because I've been having a bunch of problems with the application that I use for counting calories. Some of the foods I can't find them. Some of the things I have to add them manually. So basically, the point has been the fact that I'm trying to add everything. Some of the things I'm trying to add them manually, and I'm still adjusting my whole liquid food experiment. And I don't know if you noticed, but you know, since the videos that I was doing maybe like almost like a month ago, or even 3 weeks ago, I've added like almost close to 10 pounds now. 10 pounds of mostly muscle. Yeah, there's a bunch of water, there's a bunch of glycogen, could be even a little bit of fat. Not much fat, a little bit of fat, but not much fat. But I've been adding a lot of muscle. And if you see like my arms, I've added a bunch of muscle, even the shoulders. If you look a little bit closely in the shoulders and the upper chest, there is a bunch of muscle that I've been adding here. And this is going to keep going more and more. I'm going to keep adding more and more. And this is something that I'm going to continue doing to see how much I can gain and keep. Now, details, like I said, they're addressed on the website. For people that are interested in the very minute and technicalities of bodybuilding, based on the 5 layers of bodybuilding system that I discussed before. Layer 1 is nutrition, then training, then recovery, then supplementation, then anabolics, the 5 layers of bodybuilding. I'm doing specific protocol across all these different layers. And for people that are interested in the specifics, all this information will be available on the website with details and measurements and experience, my own experience, all these different things, so that the people can benefit from my experiences and maybe avoid some of the mistakes that I make, or if I did something that's good or that's proper, people can also benefit from that. And be able to see everything in a clear and organized manner. Now, also as far as aesthetics, it's not only just about muscle aesthetics. I also have been working on a protocol for hair loss. That's a protocol that I've been working on for maximizing hair gain and minimizing hair loss. And I've had a bunch of videos where I've explained in detail some of the mechanisms of hair loss. And I'm working on like almost like a compound right now, or a compounded solution between 3 elements, 3 materials, 3 compounds that I'm going to be experimenting with to try and see if my own hair loss or my own hair density gets better with that protocol. Obviously, a while ago I did shave my hair. I did buzz it. Maybe I shouldn't have done that, but you know, the reason I do it is I feel like if you're starting a new protocol, or if you want to really get to your scalp and clean the scalp and everything like that, and have solutions really go in the skin, it's really beneficial to have easy access by buzzing basically your head. The problem is you're not going to be able to gauge as much falling hair and stuff like that as if it's long, because you can't see the small hairs as much as the long hairs. But the benefit is that, like I said, you get easily to the scalp and you can apply solutions, and they get to penetrate through the skin in a way easier manner than if you had a lot of big, dense, long hair. So this is one thing. Another thing that I have done. Now, there's a completely different issue that I might also talk about, but I may keep that to a different video. But as far as now, I'm glad that I was able to at least, temporarily break through this plateau of weight, and almost gained 10 pounds since 3 weeks ago. after I changed up a little bit the stuff in my protocol, and happy with that. And we'll keep doing what I'm doing. The thing that might change would be the timing of the timing of the food. So I might change the timing of the food a little bit. Instead of eating across all these intervals all day, and I keep getting these carb comas and stuff, I might start organizing my food around a specific time where I eat most of my calories in a window of time, almost like intermittent fasting, So I might be experimenting with intermittent fasting. As I've said before, I've been trying to do a cross between bodybuilding and cognitive function. Maybe a lot of people out there don't know, but I study a bunch of computer science and stuff. Every now and then I like to read, for example, mathematics. I like to read statistics. I like to read stuff like that. And for me to do that, my cognitive function has to be on point. Eating a lot of carbohydrates interferes with that. Like right now, I just had four of these buns of bread with shrimp, and the carb coma is real. Like right now, talking, I feel like almost like I want to go to sleep because of all these carbs. When you're bulking, there's just almost no way you can avoid the carbs. You're gonna have to eat some forms of carbs. So for me, I've been trying to see if I can group my carbohydrates or group most of my food, most of my eating, most of my calories around, let's say, for example, an 8-hour window of eating in a day, or a 7 or a 6-hour window of eating, for longevity purposes, for health purposes, but also for cognitive function, to be able to have my brain think better, be clearer, achieve all the things that I want to achieve, right? Aside from, within fitness and health and longevity, but also with other aspects of just training my brain every day, which gets more difficult if you have to eat all across the day, like I mentioned before. So if anybody out there, I'm going to give a bunch of tips. If anybody out there is having plateaus and you're trying to bulk, you're trying to gain weight, you're skinny, you feel insecure about maybe the way you look, my advice is take the system that I've created, the 5 layers of bodybuilding. There's also a book that I'm writing right now. It's going to be on the website. It's called The 5 Layers of Bodybuilding. Nutrition, training, recovery, supplementation, and anabolics, and the derivatives of anabolics, right? Peptides and so on and so forth and whatnot. SARMs. You have to learn how to maximize every layer before you jump to the next layer. You have to understand how to maximize every layer across the dimension of time. And that takes a while to maximize everything and to understand how to properly maximize everything before you jump to the next step and do something like anabolics when you haven't maximized nutrition and training and don't know how to train, and you don't know how to recover, and you don't know how to use everything to saturate the first 3 or 4 layers before you jump to the 5th layer, which is anabolics. A lot of people just want to jump. They think, oh, the steroids. Of course. And not just with bodybuilding, man, even with cognitive function. I'll talk about many of the protocols that I use to maximize cognitive function for people that want to maximize cognitive function. For people that are programmers, top CEOs that want to be high achievers, there are so many protocols to be able to maximize cognitive functions, almost like steroids for the brain, right? There's all these different things and these protocols that I've been developing for a while, for a long time. So, with that being said, finally broke through the plateau, gained almost 10 pounds of muscle since I was talking in my video, sitting here on this desk in the last video, talking about I'm not able to gain more weight. I was trying to eat, drinking all the calories. I'm doing liquid food. I was liquefying my food to be able to break through that plateau and to be able to get those calories in. We'll do a bunch of also volume workouts with biceps, with the bicep curls that I used to do before. We'll definitely go back to doing those. But as far as today, my weight has been keep going up, and I finally broke the plateau. So that's good news. I'm excited. I am motivated. I have just done today a pretty intense shoulder workout, and just for the shoulder, people that want to get these, people that want to get the tricep to put a lot of meat on their shoulder, especially get that cab. One thing I'm going to mention here is, especially with the lateral raises, don't try and use so much weight. Don't try to use so much weight that you're not even using the shoulders, man. You have to use a weight within a range where you can activate the muscle. If you're not activating the muscle and then you're swinging and using your traps and your back to lift because the weight's too heavy for you, you're not building the shoulders. The shoulder is a very small muscle. It's not a big muscle. It's not your back. It's a small muscle. It's a small because it's almost like 3 separate muscles: the front delts, the mid delts, and the rear delts. Each one of them is almost like has a different move, right? So to, for example, recruit the mid delts, you have to be very, very accurate with the way you target them. If you're throwing around so much weight, you're going to be recruiting all these different muscles and all these different other body parts and swinging and doing the back, and you're not going to be completely focused on the shoulder, which is you're trying to grow. Always use the weight that makes you fail within a good amount of reps. You fail around 12, 15, 20 reps, right? You can go even more if you want, if you're a fan of higher reps. But making sure that the weight you had, the muscle is really contracting. You can't lie to yourself. Not swinging the weight around, not trying to impress somebody else. Don't try to impress other people in the gym or all that stuff. The muscle has to be activated. If it's not activated, you're not doing nothing, and it's not going to grow. It's not going to grow. You think if you do heavy weight, the muscle is going to grow? It's not going to grow because you're not activating it. You're swinging weights around. You're not activating the muscle, If I want to train triceps, I have to activate the triceps. I have to start, study the anatomy of the triceps and activate different parts of the triceps. I'm not going to throw weight around and I'm pushing with everything else, pushing with the shoulders, pushing with the back, thinking I'm doing the triceps, but it's not. Overloading has its place and it has its time in a training routine, but nothing beats just focused in contraction and accurately targeting the muscle. So keep that tip in your head when you're trying to train. And as far as now, everything's been doing good, going great. Still liquefying a little bit of my food, still liquefying some of the rice, drinking it, and everything like that. And I hope everybody has a great time and is benefiting from the tips and the gems that I'm throwing around in these videos. And I'll see you in the next one.